Vin.
I'm sorry.
And this is the big
Our
homie.
stage doesn't look very good because it's daylight.
Yeah, we're usually recording at 2 or 3 in the morning. This is the big homie, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. He has been a staple.
Yep. Armando.
And of course, it's our guy Armando.
He consistently brings us the goods.
Consistently. For timely topical political commentary, you can hit me up in Middle America with Vin and Sori. I think I'm going to have to come out of Middle America retirement after my guy Biden. Okay, so there are multiple ways to get your song reviewed, dear listener. There is the regular socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, vinandsori@gmail.com. My favorite way is the community option. $1 a gate gets you in a Patreon. You then get recruited by an alliance leader. Alliances are groups of people that have similar genre interest.
Yeah.
They pull their points together and then they're able to go out and influence what we look at.
It's a cool place to be too if you're like, lonely and you're struggling with this COVID stuff and you're like, I just want to talk to people. It's another place to hang out and chat with people and talk about music and other things and gossip about me and Vin and
Mm-hmm. A lot of that happens.
Yeah. Sometimes I jump in, I'm like, oh, I didn't know they thought that. Well, whatever.
That's why I am the way that I am. I mean, I love you, but there's a certain. Okay, so there's that, and the other thing is we've got a website coming up. I'm not going to tell you guys exactly when, but we're about 85%.
Oh, shoot, yeah. Sorry, Helena. We're going to reach out to you again soon.
The wonderful Helena, our Fortnite buddy,
yep.
Doing an amazing job. So shout out to the big homie. Okay, now Armando did not take the community option. Armando took the filthy capitalist isolationist.
It's not filthy. It's that you really want to have a song reacted to. You're like not interested in like kind of like, hey, let's do this and work, like a voting or whatever. You're just like, I want to get that song in there and I want to get it reacted to.
125
and that's my thing. I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait for anything.
Okay, 120.
Anyway, that's $125. Unless you do it 3 or more times with us, then it drops down to the $75 tier. So our buddy...
and Armando is well into the $75 tier. Shout out to everybody, all of the folks who've done that. Just got another one from the big homie. I want to make sure I pronounce your name properly. Chris S. Shout out to you and all of our patrons and all our folks. Okay, this is Nick Cave and the Bad Seed, the Weeping Song. Let's go. Oh, this is live?
All right, this song discusses the very nature of
looks like it.
Weeping, sadness, fear, sorrow, sexual incontinence, and madness. And Blix Margold's gonna sing it.
He's got so many different sounds, this guy.
Son, go down to the water and see the women weeping there, and then go up into the mountain. The men they are all weeping too.
Father, why are all the women weeping?
They are all weeping for their men.
Then why are all the men there weeping?
They are weeping back.
I love this guy so much.
This is a weeping song. It's a song in which to while all the men and women sleep. This is a weeping song, but I won't be weeping long.
All the while, all the little children weeping.
Oh, they are merely crying songs. Father, tell me, are you weeping? Your face, it seems wet to touch. Then I'm so sorry, Father. I never thought
Thank you. Yeah! Yeah, yeah, yeah! Yeah, yeah, yeah! I don't want your sign, I want you. Oh, Father, tell me, are you weeping?
She's breathing.
Your face, it seems wet to touch. Oh, then I'm so sorry, Father. I never thought I'd
so cute.
That song is originally 4 minutes long, so I know what's going to happen. People are going to say, "Why didn't you listen to the original?" Well, the other thing about the alliances and Patreon thingamajiggies is that you choose which one we listen to. Mm-hmm. So whatever,
choose the version.
Whatever they say is what we go with.
I like this one. I mean, the song itself, like the concept of it, like the weeping song, is kind of sad, you know, like because but it kind of just shows that everybody weeps. You know, the fathers, the wives, the kids, everybody has seasons of weeping. It's sad when it said.
Well, the child isn't weeping. The child is just crying. You see in verse 2?
Oh, they merely crying, Father, yes.
Yeah.
Weeping is
Your
yet
weeping
to
is yet to come. Brilliant.
I was about to bring that, yeah.
Brilliant. I'm a big fan of the ancient Near East. You guys hear kids playing outside, that's okay. That's good, actually. In Zechariah, children playing in the streets is a sign of the new world, so this is
also a sign of spreading COVID-19, but whatever.
It's good. And so we're back to the weeping song.
Yep. I know, I kept thinking COVID-19 when this is going on because all the people crowded together for the shows, it's summertime, and anyway.
I got a friend whose son is he's got asthma and heart disease, and he's not doing so well.
Oh, jeez.
I didn't ask because we've got pretty much all kids on the spectrum, so I was immediately gonna think of one of mine, so I didn't ask her.
From ages 1 to 14.
But yeah.
Well,
studying the ancient Near East is
and one on the way. That's like
one of the things that happens in the ancient Near East is that they had these lamentation rituals. Mm-hmm. And we still kind of see.
Remember, they could hire weepers.
Yeah, they would hire weepers sometimes if you had the money. But you see the women pouring sand on their head and all that, and when somebody died, it was a community affair.
Yeah.
So the entire community would surround your family and weep with you and all the rest of it. And we're so siloed now as Western people that we've lost that, and some of it is political, but you can still see it with Palestinians, when a kid gets killed and they march his coffin basically from his house to the and it's a lamentation ritual, and like I said, particularly in the Palestinian situation, it's partly political. It's to say, look what these people did to us. But on the other side, it's also a community-oriented ritual to get behind the family, and the entire community goes up in no. I think it's a good contrast. The kids playing when we're talking about such a heavy topic. Okay. The people will understand the artistry.
All right.
So yeah, I think that's a lost art in the Western world.
I agree. I remember I don't know, probably it was late teens or something like that. And I went to a funeral, and it started hitting me the way that we do. I didn't have a concept of funerals in other places. It was just, I thought something was desperately wrong with the way that in America we do funerals. You gouge the person that their family member just died, and you just take so much money for them to bury. It's an industry, yeah. And obviously it's the last thing that you're gonna, it's the last resting place, so to speak, that you're putting them in. So you don't want to get the weird, hard-looking casket. You want it to be something soft, even though the person doesn't really care anymore, but you care. And so they end up spending all this money. And then I thought the strangest thing was that the family pays for everybody to go to a restaurant. You just lost somebody, and it seems like everybody should come together for a potluck.
That's your tradition. I've never heard that before.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But again, we always took care of all of our dead by ourselves. We never really had one. I remember the first actual funeral I went to was so my aunt was pregnant, but she had lived a pretty rough life by the time she ended up living with us. She lived with us for like a year, and she was preggo, and I would talk about baby names and all that. I'll never forget, I was looking in the alphabetical order, and I found Aziza, because I was on my roots kick, I was on my Pan-African kick. I was like, you should name him Aziza. And every day I say, oh, Lorraine, what do you think? Aziza, huh? Good one? She's like, all right, go on, Vincent, John, whatever. And then one day I woke up and she wasn't there. She was at the hospital. She lost a baby. And that was the first actual funeral I went to. We were in a limousine, and it hit me pretty hard because she used to let me touch her belly, and she used to sit down and listen to me when I was explaining what Aziza meant and about how we need to go back to Africa, and she, oh, okay, you put me on the head, So that was the first real time, and I remember, like, I felt so strange, but I couldn't figure out what was going on, because I didn't cry. I didn't cry. It was, she was crying, my mom was crying, my older brother, who was basically like the father figure, was, very somber. My little brother really didn't know what was going on, and I was just kind of like, hey, I'm in a limousine. That was a big thing. I was like, oh, I'm in a limo. And, looking back now, obviously I understand, what I was doing, but...
How old was she? I mean, how old was the baby?
She was pretty far along. I mean, she was showing and everything. But like I said, she had lived a pretty rough life before my mom got to her, so... my mom was...
Do you remember her crying?
Who?
Your aunt.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I remember her crying. My mom took it very, very hard because she was like, if I'd have got to her months earlier, blah, blah, blah. And of course, my mom had suffered a very late-term miscarriage. So, it was really the first time that I'd ever, come face to face with and by that time, I was like, I don't know, 9, 10, 11 years old. I had seen more craziness and horror and that was part of the reason. It was just
I've seen at my age.
It was just a crazy situation. But anyway, that was like the real first time but the song isn't necessarily about weeping because of death per se, although I think that's probably
I think it's part of it. I think it's just life itself, that's why it says that the kids were crying and not weeping yet. That was going to be to come,
Yeah. Go down to the water and see the women weeping there, then go up into the mountain and the men, they're all weeping too. That's like there's this, the literary device of basically the guide and the follower, where the person's, it's like Dante's Inferno, the angel's a guide and shows them stuff, or Zechariah in the Bible, like that. So this is a motif here, is that there is a sort of kind of omniscient father who's guiding his kid and then saying, look at this is the human condition. And so the women are weeping, and then he goes up to the mountain, the men are weeping too, which is really brilliant because it's contrasting, the women and the men, and they're both weeping. And then he goes, why are all the women weeping? They're weeping for their men. Well, why are all the men weeping? They're weeping back at them. Like, it's and of course, go ahead, I'm sorry.
It's a circle.
Yeah. And in the ancient world, you were almost guaranteed to die a very early and horrible death, whether by disease or by warfare. And the men were basically tapped on to deal with all of that. And then that's why, in the ancient world, there was a lot of polygamy, because the men were just dropping like flies, and so you couldn't have one for one, because guys were dropping like flies, and so you'd have one for three. You come back from a war, 2 husbands are dead, now you got this woman destitute. So that was, polygamy came about in the ancient world to some degree due to the necessity. And so, but yeah, I mean, the lament rituals were just a part of life for these people, because, and they had weeping songs, and they had songs of lamentations. As a matter of fact, there's an entire book in the Bible called Lamentations.
That's it. Hold on. I'll bring you a pie.
What do you mean?
You're having another wife, so I'm backing you up and telling the lady, I'll bring her a pie. We'll support you, but not like that.
Well, yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
I see what you're saying. So anyway, this is a weeping song which you meet while all the men and women sleep. This is a weeping song, but I won't be weeping long, which is very.
I like that part.
It depends on how you take it.
You're thinking it could be death. That's not what I thought.
I'm gonna join I'm gonna join the people who I'm gonna be the one wept for at the very soon here. But you said I won't be weeping long. How did you interpret that?
Because like sorrow can last for the night, but joy comes in the morning.
Oh yeah. After difficulty comes ease, all that jazz.
Yeah,
Sure.
that to me.
Sure. It just depends on your perspective on life.
Yeah, I guess.
And the child one was really too. Why are the children weeping? Well, they're merely crying. Because the things all things being equal that kids cry about, like Orion was in the room, we're all hanging
His
out.
mouth was like that.
We're all playing Fortnite, but he goes down
He's
for his
one.
He goes down for his nap.
And somebody picked him up off the bed to bring him for his nap.
He knew what was happening.
Yeah.
So he started, and then 2 seconds later he's out like a light. And he's out right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, kids cry over, again, if the world is the way it should be, kids cry over stuff that isn't really worth weeping. Like, it's not like from the depths of his soul type of thing.
Yeah.
Not to say, but this is a mistake a lot of adults make, that just because it's
They're a
not
kid.
as, right.
Yeah.
You still have to take it seriously, but at the same time, you have to realize that, hey, this is, in the grand scheme of things, he's going to have much bigger things to cry about.
Right.
I remember thinking to myself, I remember the first time, I held one of my babies, it was Dorian, and I just remember being so sad because of all the things that he was going to have to, just being in this world, not necessarily. And, I was talking about, we were having a conversation last night, and it was massively emotional for me. I didn't, whatever, but some of the stuff that he's had to go through as a dad, knowing, I think Peterson was talking about it. It was one of the most brilliant talks I've ever seen, where he talks about Mary's role. And I think it's Michelangelo. It's got the picture of Mary holding the shattered body of Jesus after.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how, and there was a prophecy about Jesus when it said that, and Mary, he said, this kid's gonna do great things, and a sword's gonna pierce him. A sword's gonna pierce him, but a sword will pierce your heart also. And Peterson was talking about how it is a duty of every mother to prepare her child for crucifixion. And how Mary embodies the role of the mother who carries her own child in the womb in such a way that a dad will never understand. Like, I love Orion very deeply, but I did not carry him in my body, and I did not sacrifice my body the way that you are, that you did for him. And so to be that close to a child and then offer him up to a world that is going to crucify him.
You share the same heartbeat at first.
Yeah.
And then it splits off.
You literally share the same heartbeat with this thing. And then you offer that child to the world to be crucified. And he was talking about how, he got in a physical altercation with one of the kids, and his mom saw, and she looked at him and said, "Just be home for dinner." And and he said that was the best thing that she could have done, because if she would have went in and, protected him, that would have been the end of him with his friends. So, and look.
I'm probably going to ruin my kid's relationship with them. I don't want that stuff.
I just say get back inside.
Oh, my word, that time that someone called Johan retarded, that made me so angry. I wanted to go hit that kid myself.
Yeah, and of course, you're not gonna let your kid walk out in the middle of the street and say, "Hey, offering me up for crucifixion."
Yeah.
But as a parent that you are going to send that kid out into a world that's going to do horrible things to him and damage him emotionally. It's impossible. It doesn't matter how well connected you are, put together you are, what your monetary social strata is. He's gonna. So I thought that was just a very, very powerful, because he was, that's a famous picture from Michelangelo, and people, pretty sure it's Michelangelo, and he said it was the most captivating picture in all. Peterson does all these superlatives, but it was a very, very. I remember being at the gym while I was listening to it, and I was like, wow, man, that's deep. That is deep as hell, literally. And so it's this guy Nick Cave, man. I'll tell you what, he's I don't think I've seen anybody that has such a finger on the human condition as this guy. Like, just unbelievable talent.
I hope that the video doesn't get blocked. If it does, you really should follow the link in the description. I like the way that they compiled this.
There's an official video right here.
Okay, I love the way that they compiled this one because it shows him at a lot of different shows, starting from when he looks very young, and then it moves up until he's in this crowd with these people and this interaction that he has with this girl. You know, you can see the way that she's breathing, that this is a big, big moment for her. And I just love it when people, they don't just love their music and their art, but they love the people that are coming to listen to it and involving. He's like, I don't want your sign, I want you, and brought her up onto the stage. And
she'll never forget that.
Oh no, absolutely. And so that was just really cool. And to me, that again was, I think, an inappropriate way to end a weeping song unless you are saying joy comes in the morning.
Yeah.
Because it had a happy sound, everybody was together clapping at the same time, and like the togetherness and the, you know, the camaraderie and stuff like that. So I'm gonna stick with my thing that.
And this is one of the reasons why the Christian story is so compelling to me. You know, because you know, it talks about Jesus as he was a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, and the sorrow of Christ has always been such a powerful, because I've felt so alone all my life with so many things. And you know, there are some things that happen, you know, like, oh, that happens to everybody, and then there's some things that happen that don't happen to everybody. And but the concept that God can experientially say, I know how you feel, not, you know, hey, I'm omniscient so I know how you feel, but experientially I can believe that God knows how I feel is a massively compelling idea.
Yeah.
And you know, that's just something I'll never get over as far as the story.
Yeah.
You know, because and then, you know, he takes the weeping to the utmost on the cross. And then I think that one of the most overlooked things in theology is the burial of Christ. There's a lot of massively important import to the death of Christ. I mean, to the burial of Christ, for a lot of reasons. And for me, one of the main issues is that, you know, he compared himself to a seed in John chapter 13. Unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone. But if it dies, then it, you know. So,
when I used to have a garden, I used to think about that verse all the time.
So his burial, to me, is like, signifies God saying, all the pain and suffering, weeping, yada, 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 I'm putting that in the ground. And then when he rises from the dead, all that gets left behind, and now there's a new humanity to look forward to and to work toward. And it's extremely hopeful. Obviously, the resurrection is huge. But I think the burial is sort of God's pledge to us that He's gonna put all that in the ground one day, and I think that's important because again, you know, it's real world stuff. And I remember when this guy Jim at church, you know, he had cancer, and then he had overcome it, and then it came back. And I hadn't seen Jim Dorian was just born. I hadn't seen Jim for, you know, whatever. Because I was like paranoid, so I didn't, before all the COVID stuff, I was like, I don't want people, because I knew people were not touching him because he was such a beautiful baby. He's like Orion, you know. He was such a beautiful baby. Everybody wanted to put their hands on him, and it was winter, and it was October. I'm like, I don't want people touching my baby. So then he finally showed up to church, and he was a door greeter, and he was like 5'4", and he was like, hi, Dorian, and he gave me a high five, and he like jumped off the ground, and then like 2 weeks later he was dead. He went in for chemo, killed him, and man, I remember that was like, you know, because when I was, you know, in New York, people get shot or somebody would get hurt. I didn't cry, I was, you know, but that for whatever reason it hit me really. I was crying really hard, so bad that I turned on the shower or the bathtub thingy, and I just like lost it. But then like the presence of Christ was so strong in that moment. Like I almost want to go back there. It was like, and Jesus is so.
I've had moments like that too.
It's just weird, man. Like he makes horrible situations like because he's there. It's like you want to go back there, but it's a fucking horrible situation. It was after that. After that moment, I said to him, I said, if I die and you're not in heaven but you're in hell, I'm going to hell. Like literally, like after that, I said, I said, man, I was like, because if you can make this, again, there's levels to who you are, and like at this level, it's like crying and I couldn't breathe. I mean, it was probably for a lot of things, not just Jim. And his presence was insane, and there's a lot of weird theological things because I kind of felt Jim say keep going. It was one of those because I remember at Jim's funeral I was telling Jesus like tell Jim I love him and blah 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 blah, and it was just so I'm there in the bathtub crying and Jesus is there, and I just kind of felt like Jesus saying, hey, Jim's got something to tell you, and it was just keep going, and but that
I've heard a lot of good said about that man.
He was the best human being I've ever met in my life.
That's what everybody was saying.
Literally the best.
Anytime I heard anything about him, it was always positive. By the time I came around, he was already gone. But anytime that his name came up, it was just
he was the most,
a real love and respect filled the room.
He was
an honorable person, apparently.
Oh my God. He was just like I said. Like I love my mother to death. Everybody knows how I feel about my mother, but Jim Beach was the greatest human being I've ever met in my life, and I do not believe I will ever meet anybody like him ever again. And I'm grateful to God for the it's only 2.5 years that I knew him. So encouraged everybody that he was around. He encouraged everybody. The guy is unbelievable, and I really felt like Jesus met me there at the bathtub, and it was a weird contrast because then he basically said you got to get up now, you gotta, and then I went and held Dorian, and it was like, hey man, you got this kid depending on you, and it was a very very impactful moment, and like I said. That was it for me. I was like, I told him. I said, look, if you're not up there, you're down there. I'm going down there, because that's hell will be heaven for me if you're there, and heaven would be hell if you're not. So that's the end of that. So anyway, a deep song, very very cool. I love Nick Cave, man. This guy, I don't really know, man. I don't think I've ever seen anybody that has a real handle on the human experience like this dude. You know what's interesting? I'm pretty sure Nick Cave is Canadian.
Oh, really?
He kind of reminds me, like, physically of Jordan Peterson.
Oh, yeah.
If Jordan Peterson was a rock star, he would be Nick Cave. Like, he dresses in the suit. He dresses in the suit.
That's so funny. Yeah, I would never have thought that, but now that once you said it, I'm like, oh, wait, actually, yeah.
What do you get the song?
9.3.
It's a 10 for me, obviously. It's a 10 for me. Shout out to Jim Beach. I'll see you later with the A and Soph, my guy. Shout out to Jesus of Nazareth. Been my best friend, my angel who's guided me my whole life long. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.
I never thought I'd This is a weakness song.
Right, this song discusses the very nature of weeping, sadness, fear, sorrow, sexual incontinence, and madness. And Blixie Bargold's gonna sing it.
Son, go down to the water and see the women weeping there, and then go up into the mountain. The men, they are all weeping too.
Father, why are all the women weeping?
They are all weeping for their men.
Then why are all the men there weeping?
They are weeping back at night. This is a weeping song. It's a song in which to while all the men and women sleep. This is a weeping song, but I won't be weeping long.
Hey. All the while, all the little children weeping.
Oh, they are merely crying songs. To weep is yet to come. This is a weeping song. It's a song in which to weep while all the little children sleep. This is a